Hey friends, Ash here with gentsscents. Hope you're doing really well. Today, I'm going to be going over the rebirth of a fragrance icon. Or maybe not really an icon, but a fragrance that a lot of people have a nostalgic view of and really love. The fragrance I'm talking about is Candies by Liz Claiborne, which is now reborn once again. This is Candies 2021, I guess we'll call it. And you can find this right now online for between 20 and 25 bucks, depending on where you look. By comparison, the original Candies, which came out in 1999, for this size, 50 mils, gonna run you about $200. A 100 mil, about double that. Or you could just go with some samples, and then you're just gonna have to pay between $20 and $40. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys the new presentation on this new release of Candies. I'm going to let you know, is this a real reincarnation of this? Could this be what you're looking for if you want that nostalgic blast of Candies from 1999? Let's see. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at this presentation. As you can tell, the bottle has changed quite a bit. First up, let's take a look at this box, which is different, though it does harken back to the original a little bit. You've got the name of the fragrance, you've got the size and concentration right there on the front. On the side, it says Candies, and that's the same on the opposite side as well. On the back, you have a picture of the bottle. You also have a description of the fragrance, along with the note breakdown and the ingredients. At the top, it just says Candies, and on the bottom is where you will find your batch code, which is LA13. Another thing you'll notice here, Candies is a trademark of Icon DE Holdings LLC, used under license. So this is not made by the same people as the original. And here we have the bottle. And I actually do like the look of this bottle a decent amount. It says Candies on the front. It has this blue gradient as well, which I dig. And it's a bottle that feels pretty good in the hand. It doesn't feel overly light, doesn't feel overly cheap or anything like that. Cap is plastic. You have the little C for Candies on top of the cap. It does click into place. And on the bottom, you'll find your sticker with your batch code. And I'll go ahead and waste a couple sprays for you guys here. Atomizer is actually pretty good. So yeah, the bottle obviously looks different, but there are some things, some stylistic similarities that you can find between the two. The caps are similar shapes. They both use a gradient, and they both say Candies on the front. Now, while the men's Candies is really hard to find, talking about the original release, the women's is not. You can still find the women's version of Candies pretty easily, a lot of places actually, typically around 30 bucks or so. So if you're looking for the women's version, you're in luck. You can go find it a bunch of different places and not have to spend all that much. If you want the original, but you can't really afford the eau de toilette, you can buy an aftershave of the original for about $90. Frankly, I wouldn't do that because the aftershave is going to be even weaker than the eau de toilette, and it's not like the original Candies is some monstrous performer. But that is, I guess, an option. So why are so many people willing to pay those jacked up prices for Candies? Well, this one was enormously popular in the early 2000s. You could find it everywhere. I remember seeing it at Walmart just constantly through the early 2000s, and lots of people wore this thing because it was so easy to find, because the advertising for this was everywhere and had lots of celebrities, a lot of push behind it, and it was pretty affordable. And it didn't hurt that it was a solid compliment pulling fragrance and very easy to wear. It was very much a fragrance of its time. And so as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people really want that nostalgic hit. You know, they want to smell this again and be reminded of all the times they wore it in the past and the things that happened while they were wearing it. And this is one of those few times, those very few times in the fragrance community where a fragrance that is going for insane prices is revived. And people are like, oh my God, I can smell it again and not have to pay 200, 300, 400 bucks? Sign me up. So that's gonna bring us to the fragrance. Is Candies 2021 an actual replacement, a real reincarnation of the original Candies? No. And that's really unfortunate, yeah. So I had my wife smell this one blindly. Didn't tell her what was on either arm, both opening and dry down. And all I asked her was, do these smell similar to you? She said no, and I agree. Maybe 30% in terms of the similarity, in the sense that they're both a fresh fragrance that frankly comes across kind of synthetic. Yeah, they're similar like that, but not in terms of how the fragrance is actually done. You'll notice when you look at the note breakdown for this one that a lot of notes are different. A lot of things are removed from the original Candies, and the notes that have been removed are the notes that you probably remember most from the original. Watermelon, gone. Coriander, gone. Green notes, gone. A lot of the depth that the original had, which is kind of funny. We're talking about a really cheap fragrance from '99, but a lot of the depth from the original is missing here. So what ends up happening is you spray this on and you get hit with this sort of lightly zesty citrus. And when I say lightly, I do mean lightly. This fragrance is weak. And that's about what you get in the opening. Just a light, synthetic smelling citrus. It's inoffensive, so it's got that going for it, but it's completely unmemorable. And this does lack that, that late 90s, early 2000s vibe that is captured so well in Candies. I think that's the best part of the fragrance. When you smell it, immediately you're like, yeah, I know when that came out. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a positive way. That is not here at all. As it dries down, it gets a little bit closer to the original, but not really. The woodiness that you have in the original Candies, it's missing. This is just kind of a clean musk in a very boring way. So those woodsy undertones, the sandalwood, the cedar that you would pick up in Candies, you're not gonna find that in Candies 2021. So if you wanted to, in a really simple way, you could think of this as Candies 99 if you took everything that made that fragrance, Candies 99, and stripped it out, and then tried to pass it off as a more fresh, modern take on the scent. Then you would have this. Generic, inoffensive, boring, and without any lasting power whatsoever. I went into it hopeful and was ultimately disappointed. Yeah, 25 bucks is not expensive, that's for sure. But even at that price point, there are dozens of fragrances that are better than this one, both more unique and better performing. Because in terms of longevity here, you are legitimately looking at maybe 3 hours off of skin, maybe. More realistically, 2. It performs like an eau de cologne. I mean, yeah, it's inexpensive and you can spray a whole bunch of it on if you want to, but that's trying to make an excuse for a fragrance that just has terrible performance. Projection, not really. Maybe 15 minutes and then it just sits right next to your skin until it dissipates completely. Obviously more of a spring and summertime fragrance, more of a daytime fragrance, but frankly, if you buy this, you're probably not gonna wear it a lot. Because after you spray it on, wear it once or twice, you'll go, man, there's nothing here. So what have we got here? We have a fragrance trying to capitalize on a name that people loved decades ago. It's a weak imitator. It's not really very good. I don't feel like a whole lot of thought was put into this other than, hey, can we revive that name and maybe do a quick cash grab? So I want to tell you guys out there, if you've been looking for an alternative to Candies, you saw this come up for sale and you were excited and you were hoping that finally there was an affordable way to recapture some of that, that magic in a bottle from decades past, this isn't it. I would say maybe 30%, 35% similar, something like that. It's just not good. So there we go, Candies 2021 for me. No, don't do it. Don't waste your money. There's no point. If Candies 2021 smelled different than the original Candies, but it was still a solid fragrance, that would be different. At that point, yeah, go for it. It's not gonna be Candies 1999, but at least it's a decent fragrance. Instead, they've given you something that's super cheap with terrible performance and is unbelievably generic, and they're banking on that name reeling you in. All right, that's gonna do it for me. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for your support. Stay safe out there. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.